We just got huge update news today in DC Dark Legion, and we also got the much anticipated June community newsletter from Super Helen. So buckle up because this is going to be probably a long-winded video, but I want to cover some of the major items that are coming with this game update. But I want to cover some of the major items that are going to be coming with this update, as well as go through the community newsletter and just look at some of the big things that have been updated for the game over the last month or so, and some of the things that we can expect to see in the game soon, as well as some of the things that are most likely not coming to the game. So let's get started talking about the maintenance that happened earlier this morning. We don't have any game assets or any footage that I can show you yet, but we are getting a new event called Battle for Gotham. So this event looks like is going to run very similar to Guardian Challenge, except it's going to be for the only 5-star city in the game, Gotham. And looks like we're going to be able to appoint a very special guardian for Gotham City. So the winning league is going to get to appoint one player as president of the Earth. So president of the server. They're calling it the Earth Council. So he or she will be the ruler of the server and Gotham's official protector. The president will get certain bonuses. We don't know what those bonuses are yet, but the president will get specific privileges and will also get to appoint officials. And we're thinking that those officials will probably be not just within their league, but people that they could appoint across the rest of the server. So, I'm sure some people will do it fairly and try to appoint representatives of all of the 8 leagues that are going to be participating. And that's another thing to mention. There are going to be 8, the 8 top leagues in your server get to participate. So you definitely want to make sure that you're jockeying for position to get up there into the top 8. The president will also have the ability to give certain rewards to their own league members. And then something that I'm a little bit worried is actually going to be abused in some cases, but they'll have the ability to send server-wide mail. But we expect for Gotham War to probably kick off within the next week or so. That was the way the Great Krypton Rush event happened. I assume that this is only going to be for servers 200 through 205 for the first round, and then after that it should get released to the rest of the servers. So be on the lookout for information in your mail about when Gotham City or Gotham War is going to be coming to your server. And obviously, as soon as this comes to servers 200 through 205, I'll try my best to get some footage. I'll be traveling this weekend, but I'll try my best to get some footage of the event in action so that I can put together a video for you next week to share with you how the event works. We're super excited about seeing this come to the game. The next major update that we're getting, and I'm really excited about this one, we had no idea that it was coming. They are making another improvement to the bleed, and I think a lot of you will be excited about this. I saw on the official Discord this morning that some people were upset with it, but you can't please everyone. They are going to be removing the 3 legendary champions with boosted odds in the Hyper Time Tracker, and those will be replaced with non-bleed limited mythic champions. So your 10 shard champions, 10 shard mythic champions are now going to be available in the bleed at increased odds. And just as a reminder, those non-limited mythic champions will make up 50% of the base odds for mythic champions or legacy pieces. So you will expect to see those featured champions a lot more. You're going to get more pulls of them. And one thing that Helen mentioned, I saw in a comment that was not related to this update post in the official Discord, is the idea is that the champions that the non-limited mythic champions that you're going to be able to get at higher odds are supposed to have a little bit of synergy with the champion that they are associated with. So let's go over to the bleed and take a look at that. So we can see Supergirl here with some boosted odds champions. Now, keep in mind that this is probably subject to change for her because we don't have many of the other Superman family champions available, and we know that Supergirl and Superman are both bleed limited mythics. We're assuming that Crypto is probably going to be a 10 shard mythic, so I would reasonably expect that in the future, Supergirl and Superman are both going to have a couple of those Superman family 10 shard mythics whenever they come to the game, hopefully, in their boosted odds packs. So for now, you're going to be able to get Flash, Aquaman, and Shazam, which are all Justice League champions. I don't really see the synergy there, but there is synergy with Superman, who you're probably going to be using with Supergirl. So overall, I just think these are much better for us to get chances of getting them than what was there previously. You'll notice that you have access to Flash and Shazam in the League store. So that means that you're getting more opportunities to pull these champions and get them to higher stars. And in my opinion, champions like Flash, you should be trying to get as many shards of them as you can. So this is a nice addition for Supergirl. We got Starfire here, who is going to have Arsenal, Poison Ivy, and Penguin. I don't know why Penguin is included here. I'm not sure what kind of synergies you can cook up. It may just be that they needed some filler for a couple of these, and that's fine. Penguin's not a champion I'm super high on, but Poison Ivy is a fantastic champion for your account, regardless of what team you're building. And Arsenal obviously has that Outsiders synergy, so I'm happy to see at least one champion with the Outsiders tag here. And again, we will probably expect to see some changes to a couple of these boosted odds packs in the future as we get more champions into the game. Now, I did go through on some of my alt accounts, and I tried to pull up some of the other champions that are available in bleeds throughout the game, all the way up through, I think, server 360. So this gives you an idea. I think we're missing a few. So we're missing Zatanna and Hawkgirl, and then I believe also Martian Manhunter. Someone told me that Zatanna's were, I believe, Robin, Fate, and Raven. So that's really nice that you're going to be able to get some of those Justice League Dark champions with Constantine and Zatanna. You can see here that we have Fate with Constantine as well as Flash and Shazam. Really happy to see another Flash here. I saw some people complaining that Flash is in here too many times, but to be honest with you, he has such a good kit for helping you cycle ultimates on your win condition champions that I'm not mad about it at all. I think it's actually really good that more people are going to be able to get their Flash to a much higher level. So you can see a couple more here that are kind of notable. Sinestro is getting that one Legion of Doom tag synergy champion with your Lex Luthor. Deathstrokes, I'm not that high on. I can see why they would add your Bat Family champions like Batgirl. You have Cyborg, who kind of helps with physical damage as well. Scarecrow has really no... I guess Poison Ivy, that's a good one. We see Poison Ivy a couple of times in here. And then we have the Joker, who kind of probably has one of the worst ones. Two-Face is pretty decent with the Joker to help get some debuffs that allow you to do more spiritual damage, but he's kind of he's fallen off a little bit for later game accounts and for spenders. But overall, like I said, I think these are very solid changes. Those legendary champions are definitely tapering off in the game, and I think the quicker they can help you, the game can help you get these 10 shard mythics so that you can build these mythic teams, the better. They're going to be allowing you to upgrade all those legendary champions in the future anyway. And I do think that you have plenty of opportunities and ways to obtain those legendary champions without having them at a higher chance in the bleed. You're also going to just be pulling them naturally in the bleed anyway. So I don't think there's really anything negative that you can say here. Like, this is just truly a great addition for the game. Okay, we got some updates to Guardian Challenge and Great Krypton Rush. These are some pretty huge quality of life changes. So the first thing, preset squads. You're going to be able to do preset squads in both of these events now, which is going to be great because from the amount of testing that we're able to do, it does seem like the way they do the battles for vehicle combat is a very quick run, like a in several seconds instead of 2 minutes or however long it is for your typical battles. They're taking your team placement into account, and they're also taking your team composition into account for those battles. So having preset squads ready to go is going to make combat a lot more efficient for you, and you should be winning more battles because of that. They have introduced a new stamina system here. So stamina is no longer tracked for individual champions, but is now linked to squads with a vehicle. When a squad is preset, it starts with 100 stamina, and then each battle that you do is going to consume stamina, and low stamina will reduce battle stats. So it's going to be really important that you kind of choose your battles wisely. I think in the past we've kind of just, as long as you didn't lose, you could keep pushing out and kind of continuing to do attacks. Your offensives are going to be less and less effective until it gets to 0, and then you have to do the typical rest period before you're able to get back to full stamina again. So keep that in mind. We'll have to do some testing and see how that works in practice over the weekend. They did include some UI updates and some information displays for your strongholds in these events, and they also enhanced the vehicle visual effects. So I'm really excited to see more of these world map visual effect changes. I think so far those have been a positive change, especially if we're going to be stuck with a lot of this vehicle combat. You want it to look good in the game. They also updated the battle point rules, so all surviving players that are in the same vehicle will now earn equal points when a squad inside the vehicle defeats an enemy. So I think that's really nice. If you choose the right team and you're able to wreak some havoc on the battlefield, everyone in that squad is going to get points rather than just the main champion or the main person who initiates. So that's, I think, really important, because I definitely have felt that sometimes I'm participating, I have a good team or good team compositions across all of the squads that I'm either joining or initiating, and sometimes I don't get the points that I feel like I probably should. So definitely curious how points scored ends up evening out because of this change. And then it looks like only kills against other player squads will now count towards the kill streak. So I suppose that means that you're not going to be getting kill streaks by defeating the Dark Legion champions that are kind of preset into the map when you first start out. They did update the point rules for some rankings and tiers of Checkmate Crisis, so some iterative changes there. They added a Supreme Strategist title for the top player in the Master tier of Strategic Challenge, so they're kind of making it a little bit more rewarding for getting to that top spot. I'm nowhere close to that, but I did finish in, I think, the top 30 in Strategic Challenge 3v3 this week. So I was really happy to get some of those rewards and get that title for the first time. They added 2 new attributes to the stat details, which I think was needed. We knew that these stats were in the game, but for some reason they weren't in that kind of stat panel. So they are added here. I believe these were included, or at least one of these was included in the infographic that I have on all of the stats. If not, we will definitely make some changes to include those in a future iteration of the graphic. And then I would say not necessarily a buff, but a bug fix that will result in potentially better results with Raven. They fixed an issue where her skill Demon's Flight could occasionally fail to trigger. So Demon's Flight is her ultimate. This is the one where she turns into a raven and circles around, and she will heal everyone in a circular area in front of her by about for me it's 400% of her attack, but it's percent attack. So it's really good to see that they've fixed that. I've noticed that in a couple of battles, I will end up not getting healing that I feel like I should. So definitely going to be testing that to see if I can push in Training Sim and a couple of other modes because of this change. So that's it for the big update that has hit the game today. We're also going to take a look at the community newsletters. Let's jump over to that and we'll continue the video. All right, so some of this stuff is going to overlap with the update that happened today, so we'll just kind of skim through those sections, but I do want to highlight those because they're definitely part of what has come to the game in the last couple of months or so. The first thing is, and this was definitely something that came to the game by our player suggestions, but they did change the boosted odds champions from legendaries to 10 shard mythics, and you get a little bit more explanation or color here from Helen on why they're doing it. That basically that they want to gradually make it easier to build mythic teams. You see the comment about this, them wanting those 10 shard mythics to have some synergy with the current banner champion. And then you do get the clarifying statement here that this change doesn't change the odds of getting a mythic versus a legendary. It just means that when you pull a 10 shard mythic, you're more likely to be one of the champions in the boosted odds. So basically that 26 or so percent chance that you have to pull a limited or excuse me, a non-limited mythic or a legacy piece, those odds are going to stay the same. But if you pull that, you're going to have a higher percentage of it being one of those champions. So just a clarifying statement there. Basically, the odds are still going to be boosted. It's just not that they're not changing the odds of whether you would get a mythic versus a legendary. So keep that in mind as you are doing your pulls. As far as the more recent feedback that they've been given, there are a few things that they are working on. I know that people have been kind of complaining or providing feedback about everyone in the league being able to refresh the league train cargo. I think that's caused some issues. It's not too expensive the first few times you do it, so I think there's probably a lot of people who are just spamming that button, and it's not a great thing. They probably should adjust this to where maybe just R4s or R4s and R3s can do it, but they are looking at taking care of that, and it's going to be a high priority. So I would expect we may get a hot fix to address that before the next update, or either we'll get something next week. There's also they've been working really hard to get a fix for vehicles idling in Guardian Challenge and Great Krypton Rush. Helen stated that this was planned for the next update. I don't know if she meant that was scheduled for this update or the one that's coming after it. So everyone, please, take note of this whenever you're doing your Guardian Challenges and Krypton Rush this weekend. Let me know if you're experiencing any issues. Seems like they were having some major issues, and it looks like they're basically changing the queuing rules to fix it. So not sure if that's going to solve the problem or not. So we'll definitely need to monitor that ourselves. And then they're trying to continue to address the offline participation for Umbral Rift, because we've noticed that some of the changes that they keep making there are making it very difficult for some of the offline participants to get rewards. Even offline participants who have well-built accounts aren't getting anything in some cases. So curious to see how they address that. We're getting more preset squad slots. It looks like they are adjusting the difficulty of the Drowned in Combat Cycle Phase 1 to be lowered. There have been a lot of people who have been stuck there. Appreciate all the people who have watched my Drowned videos, both of them. I just released a Phase 2 video a few days ago. My Phase 1 video should still be applicable. It's really more tuned towards people who are just starting out on fresh servers, because I talk about a lot of the champions that are available early on and don't really focus on some of the newer champions that us older servers have access to. The Phase 2 video covers pretty much any champion that is in the game up through the Outsiders, I believe. So take a look at those if you need some help, but it looks like they are trying to adjust that difficulty down in Phase 1. Looks like they're also finally adding Wonder Woman Mythic Shards to the regular self-select and random shards that you can get, and the Mythic Shards are coming to Mother Boxes. I think they had some issues where they needed to be able to identify if you had made the upgrade yet before they give you the Mythic Shards. So you have to have Mythic Wonder Woman in order to get those shards from all of these items. I'm sure there took a lot of programming to get there. They're thinking about adding more R2 slots. They're not sure if they want to give us more privileges for our R3s, but they're continuing to discuss it. Really, like right now, R3s are just kind of an administrative thing that you can be an R3 and maybe help out on like the Discord server or with organizing events, but you have really no officer roles or things that you can do within the game. So definitely think they should try to consider something that would differentiate between an R2 and an R3. They are going to be adding Firepit Afterburners to in-game rewards at some point in the future. I think that's going to be quite helpful, especially for free-to-play and light spenders. I've been annoyed by the fact that I don't want to have to spend to obtain these rewards, and the only way that you can get them is either to spend real-world currency or to wait for one of these monthly events to come around, and you're having to spend tokens on those afterburners, which is not too exciting for me. They did add the ability to get a couple of Firepit Afterburners each week in Great Krypton Rush, so that's going to be helpful. I want to see where else they're going to land in the game too, and we'll cover that whenever it happens. The last thing, and I think this one's super exciting for people, is a login rewards event is in the works. I log in every day, so I'm definitely excited to see that things are going to be coming as login rewards. And we can cross our fingers that maybe like the final, 30 or 31 day reward is going to be shards for a champion that's worth building. So be on the lookout for that. There's probably also going to be some gems and anvils in there. So definitely some things that will directly benefit free-to-play players. Some items that are continued from last month, so things that we provided some feedback on in May that haven't quite come to the game yet, but that they are working on. They're on the dev calendar. Fortune's Box collection optimization is still on the task kit, so hopefully that's going to come in July. The Open 5 Mother Boxes daily quest is still on the calendar, it appears, but pretty low priority, so I wouldn't expect that to come anytime soon. Helen says end of July, so we'll be monitoring that one end of July, beginning of August, and see if it happens. But it's not a big deal because you can still complete all of your quests for the day without doing that one, but kind of an annoyance that you can't choose how many mother boxes you want to open. I think not just for the green mother box cubes, but also for any of them, like just having a open 1 versus open 10 might be a helpful little button that they could add to the game. This is something that's a little contentious for me. I welcome anything that's going to help us, do more damage or be more efficient with our bases, but it looks like they rejected previously a request that we add a nominal buff to cosmetic base skins, but apparently they're still discussing this internally, and they're thinking about making it where if you get the cosmetic skin that it actually boosts your account in some way. I'm not a big fan of that because it's very difficult to obtain enough tokens to get the base skin in the first place. And for a free-to-play player or a light spender even, you're having to make a difficult choice between getting a base skin that is probably going to provide, again, like Helen says, a nominal benefit versus getting mythic selector shards or anvils or magic eyes. So I'm curious what they do here. It sounds like, she says the skins are fairly expensive to develop. So with that being in mind, I highly doubt they're going to be just giving these out to players. They're going to make it hard for them to be obtained. So we'll see. I'm up in the air on this one. I think the biggest thing that would upset me would be if they retroactively applied bonuses to all of the skins that have already been obtained by people, because I specifically have not obtained any of the skins just because I knew they were cosmetic only. So devs, if you're listening, please don't retroactively apply this. Server mergers and migrations, this is something that has been on a lot of people's minds recently. We know just the nature of these games, that servers, I wouldn't say necessarily die, but the player base does taper off over time. Server mergers are 100% needed in these games, and it looks like there's going to be new account migration. I suppose if you start on a server and that server is not doing well, or for whatever reason, you'll be able to move to a different server. They'll do actual server mergers where they're going to be combining servers. And then once those two things are done, it looks like they may add a feature where you can move a mature account to other servers. I'm sure that will be a limited thing. You won't just be able to select a random server. But I, for one, welcome that, because I do think there are a lot of people who kind of are prevented from playing with their friends if they've been playing for a while and their friend joins a new server. So looking forward to that coming into the game at some point in July, moving into August and September. Okay, moving along quickly. There are some items that have either been flat out rejected or that are still under consideration but have not come to the game yet. We will not be getting any increased rewards for Combat Cycle Phase 2 just yet. They are doing this weekly reset that they just changed. I think that the amount of mirror cells that we're getting is way too low. I would like to see them maybe consider changing the amount of mirror cells we get. I'm not really asking for them to add additional rewards, but just to give us more than 20 mirror cells each time we hit a milestone, because it's hard enough to hit those milestones as it is. Time limited avatar frames are going to stay that way. I get the reasoning that expiring frames are related to status, like event rankings, and in a lot of cases that's fine, but it also kind of, like, if you're in meta brawl and you're at the top, so if you're master tier in meta brawl, you're never going to be at any of those lower rankings unless you quit the game. You might drop down to elite or so, but for the most part, you're not going to be pushed back down the rankings again. You should just have access to all of those lower level tiers just anytime you want to equip them. Some of them actually look cool, like you have some colors, that color schemes or patterns that you don't have access to anymore once you're past those levels. So really hope they consider at least making some of the avatar frames not time limited after you hit certain milestones in your account. We did suggest that they add a way for us to remember in game what our formation was for the prior combat cycle. It looks like their suggestion here is that we just use preset squads. They're going to add a bunch more preset squads, and we can basically just have a preset for each one of the combat cycle bosses. I don't know how I feel about that. I mean, for the most part, I know what my prior runs were, but good to see that they're adding this at least as something for people who want to plan in that way. They're not going to be expanding the participation for Great Krypton Rush, but they did make some changes that, number one, make the rewards a lot better for people who are participating, and number two, that even if you don't participate, you can still get some rewards, some league level rewards. So you're going to be getting quantum components and alloy, I believe, for that. So at least they're going to be doing similar changes to what they did for the train, where even if you don't get to be on the train compartment, or even if you don't get to do Krypton Rush, you're still getting some participation trophies, I guess, for your account. Looks like they're evaluating Monitor's Legacy rewards. They're not going to do any changes right now, but it's something that they will continue to look at on whether they should add more rewards or add better rewards to the later tiers. I think it's fine, especially if you end up buying the Legacy Pass. I think that Legacy Pass is the best $10 you could spend on your account in any given month. They're not increasing rewards for crisis response. In my opinion, once you hit level 35 in your war room, it's kind of a dead game mode or portion of the game. You just don't really need to use it that much, and you don't get a ton of resources from doing those nodes. I do end up doing my crisis response whenever the monthly events are going on, because you do get some additional of the items that you can send to your friends by doing that. So it looks like I'm not the only one who has complained or asked questions about how certain skills work in the game. That's something that I've had some people that have asked Naira how some of that works, and we have gotten some information from the devs on how certain skills work, but we really don't have enough to make educated and scientific, or take a scientific approach to how to build teams, because we don't know some of these things, like the exact range of a skill, the cooldown time, things like that. So I guess the dev team wants to, Helen says that they want to keep the description simple, so that they're not scaring away new players or intimidating them. But it sounds like they are going to be trying to increase information in the strategy guide, which means that over time, over the next few months or over the next year, we will start to get more of that information into the game. Sadly, there's not an API that we can extract this information to a website, for example, but super excited to see that the strategy guide is going to get improved over time so that we start getting that information. All right, so now we've got some things that were implemented since the last newsletter. Obviously, we had the Wonder Woman Ascension to Mythic event. I enjoyed doing that event. There were some hiccups, but they got everything sorted out, and I think anyone who hasn't already upgraded Wonder Woman to Mythic is really going to enjoy that event, and it's going to be a welcome change going forward. The open world map was fantastic. I'm looking forward to seeing more open world map adventures in the future, and it sounds like any additional story mode that they add to the game is going to have that open world theme, so that's really nice. They added those bonus shards for the limited banner champion to mythic pulls in the bleed. You're going to get the guaranteed shards 2, 3, or 5 for the first 6 pulls, and then anything after that is going to have a percent chance to get those. Really great change to the bleed. We have Umbral Rift sorting has finally been reworked to the point where it actually works the way we want it to, where those the ending soonest squads are showing up at the very top, and there's not as much shifting around. They claim to have lowered the difficulty on Darkest Timeline, difficulty levels 6 and 7. I'm going to be testing that. I've had a couple of wins on difficulty 6 recently. I want to see exactly how much that difficulty has been lowered. It's kind of a mode that's fallen out of favor with me, at least. But if they've lowered the difficulty and made it where you can actually beat the levels, I'll definitely be putting together some videos in the next couple of months to help you guys out with that. He also changed it to where you can no longer be randomly locked out of using your ace team that you've selected. You just will potentially be locked out of using as many of those champions as you would want. They added more ways to get Supreme Commander points in days 3 and 5, and that's using the Firepit Afterburners or the quantum components to upgrade your Apocalypse level. I'm hoping that they will do something for day 4, which is the upgrade your champions day, because I think a lot of people at the end game are running out of ways to earn points there. They extended the champion level cap to past 300. You can go from 300 to 580 by spending gems to do a reset. After 580, everything syncs up together, so there's really no reason to do a reset at all. Certain mythic champion shards are now available in self-select shards and the daily deals. That includes Arsenal, Bane, and Raven. And it looks like they're also going to be coming to the random shards soon, so that's a nice change. I mentioned the Great Krypton Rush rewards, and we've covered that on prior update videos. And then there are a lot of quality of life improvements that they added. So you can close direct messages now. You can change your story map avatar, and we can also craft mirror cells now. And actually, I should have mentioned this on one of my prior update videos, but you can actually spend all of your cash now, and you can do that by crafting mirror cells, because the cash required is quite high, and I've seen a few people who said they didn't even realize it, but they had completely run out of cash by doing these upgrades. So be careful there. As far as the Q2 and Q3 roadmap progress, obviously we've got the League Train, we got Great Krypton Rush, Gotham War is going to be coming. I believe this Sunday is going to be the first time that Gotham War is going to hit for servers 200 through 205. There's hopefully going to be a new main story that's coming in August. We got the cross-server tournament, which is going to be Great Krypton Rush based. I'm excited about that one. I'm guessing that it will probably be every month, similar to 3v3. And with this one, I mentioned on the podcast episode that I did with Unstable, we released that in 2 parts, one on my channel, one on his, yesterday. And we were talking about having like shoutcasting or something like that. I really hope that people will be able to view the tournament from the outside looking in. And I think that will offer some great opportunities for streaming and that sort of thing. Or if you just want to cover your own league's cross-server tournament and you're not going to be participating in it, I think that would be pretty solid as well. And finally, Battle Royale, which was kind of delayed a little bit. Looks like probably we're going to be seeing this in September. They're saying August at the earliest, but it's going to be a server versus server mode. And I've seen Battle Royale. I'm not sure how they're going to set this one up, but I've seen Battle Royales in other games, like I think State of Survival, where it's kind of an overworld, like a Guardian Challenge style thing, where you're in your ships and you have to go around to different objectives and pick up things, and you can fight people. So should be very interesting game mode. If you made it this far in the video, I do have a couple of sneak peeks for you. These were listed in Super Helen's community newsletter. So the first ever cross-server rerun banner is going to be coming to the game. Looks like that's going to be hitting next month. I assume the way they're going to be doing this is that the banner will be available for all players across all servers. We'll cross our fingers for that, but I am excited because I'm fairly certain that this rerun banner is going to be Superman. And I've been wanting to get back around to pulling Superman for, several months, probably about 5 or 6 months at this point. So it's going to be really nice to see that coming into the game. You can see from the June newsletter highlights that she gave at the very bottom of that post that she used the Superman symbol when she mentioned the cross server rerun banner. So pretty positive at Superman, which is going to be really great for a lot of folks who either missed out on him or didn't get enough stars on him so that he's useful in the end game. It looks like there are going to be a lot of special events that will be centered around that banner. Again, I'm not sure if that's going to be for all servers across the game or if it's just going to be for the global launch and pre-launch servers, but hopefully it's going to be for everyone. It looks like there's going to be an event where you can earn champion shards. There's going to be a special boss fight, and looks like there's going to be a few other things as well. And since Wonder Woman's Ascension was so well received, other than those minor hiccups, it looks like they are going to push forward with Mythic Ascensions for popular legendaries in the future. I'm curious who the next one's going to be. If you have any ideas who it might be or who you want it to be, leave those down in the comments of this video. And then all future story maps, I mentioned this a few minutes ago, are planned to follow the same open world exploration model as the Trial of Olympus. So also very excited about that piece. We're going to wrap up this video. If you made it this far, I appreciate you tuning in. As always, if you haven't already subscribed to the channel, definitely do that today and you'll be notified anytime there is DC Dark Legion content on my channel. And I hope to see you in the next video.